Hey there, ASAE peers. I'm Brian Haney, and I'm happy to be here today. I understand that you're like me, and you have a passion for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the good news is that is exactly the spark most organizations need to galvanize real and meaningful change. My goal today is to help you have a framework for approaching change as it might relate to your association. Hopefully, these tips and tricks will be the keys that can take your efforts to the next level. But where do you start? I think all significant change really begins from within. So if you haven't already, I encourage you to create an intentional framework for you to pursue personal growth in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and empathy towards underrepresented groups. And there are a couple of critical elements of personal growth that you need to be aware of. First, you need to examine your own biases. To become an empathetic change agent, you need to know what's in your heart. Do you have any stereotypes or prejudices that have developed over your life? What are stereotypes? Well, they're exaggerated beliefs or distorted truths about a person or a group. What are prejudices? Well, they're opinions, prejudgments, or attitudes about a person or group. Next, I think it's good to seek out marginalized voices and perspectives, because the best way to break free from our current preconceptions is to actually proactively seek out voices that we aren't hearing from. Once you start paying attention to people different from you, whether that's people of color, LGBTQ, Muslims, people with disabilities, there's a whole wide variety, you'll develop an appreciation for these voices and find beautiful synergies with your own values. Find a podcast or a blog that you like and listen to it with a heart to understand that audience. As you grow and change, you'll be far better equipped to help friends and coworkers on their journey of change as well. Now let's pivot and consider how you can work for change within your association. The key is to start off on the right foot and to not let enthusiasm cloud your better judgment. In an ideal society, all organizations would be embracing diversity, equity, and inclusion and working towards meaningful change. However, we all know that sadly, not all organizations are as far along on the spectrum as everyone would like. So it's critical that you have a firm grasp of where your association is. Do they have a DE&I statement? Is it a part of their mission, vision, and values? Is there maybe already a person designated to head up DEI initiatives? Or does it seem like your association may not be as far along as you'd like? Do you know if your CEO is even receptive, or your immediate supervisor for that matter? Does it seem like the board is on board with things? Regardless of where things are, be prepared to make an honest assessment of the state of things so that you don't try and run before the association is ready to walk. Now you got to seek some allies. Don't try and do things all on your own. Start having some conversations with coworkers to gauge where they might be. You may also want to have a conversation with your direct supervisor as well and indicate that you're interested in this area. Find as many sympathetic parties as you can so that you can develop some cohesion and bring more people to the table. You may be surprised at who the kindred spirits are. Just do your part to find allies, because we all know that many hands make light work. Now you need to develop a framework for change. Once you see your associations placed on the DEI spectrum and you've recruited some allies ready to do the work with you, the next step is obvious: develop an action plan. Now, this doesn't need to be a master's level thesis. It should help you and your allies have a roadmap for progress. So, do you need to form a DE&I statement? Maybe have an informal working group to start discussing DE&I. Would unconscious bias training help? Can DEI be worked into job descriptions? Remember, small wins can become big wins. Even if your first change is something as simple as moving to a global holiday calendar to recognize significant days from multiple different religions and ethnicities and then celebrate them as a group together, this change could actually have a significant impact on both cultural competence and developing empathy for these groups, which could then in turn lead to even bigger and better change in the future. Now, find some power in partnerships. Internal association change is certainly the critical first step, but the next step is to help and change in your membership. To help your association level up here, it will be critical to see what DE&I needs your members have. What are the issues and gaps represented in their industry? Depending on how open-minded the membership might be, you could start identifying some DE&I champions or volunteers within your membership to help you explore ways to spark change. Maybe begin with a think tank to help you get a clearer perspective. Usually things can take off from there. Maybe you form a committee, create a strategy that is tied to your overall association's plan, and then ultimately start implementing a DE&I framework that broadens the impact of your membership on the industry itself. From there, it might be helpful to connect with ally organizations to engage in dialogue, understand some issues, and seek any potential cross-collaboration, and hopefully bring more parties to the table to help you seek change at the industry level. Ultimately, seeing the big picture helps the most because you never know where DE&I might start, but you'll eventually want to see all the places it might need to go. I've included a slide showing the 4 main intersecting parts of an association to help you see all the various areas DE&I changes may need to be worked out. While some will seem more obvious than others, ultimately, a comprehensive DE&I strategy will have to have an impact on all of them. While you might need to start small, don't lose focus of the bigger picture. There will invariably be naysayers and roadblocks along the way, but DE&I work is always a long game, so don't lose courage and stay the course. I hope you got something out of this. Thank you for letting me share.